let's see how this looks, because there's this direct light coming in from here. But what is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Greetings from wonderful Shibuya, Tokyo. After 10 days of traveling around Japan, various cities, big and small, I'm finally in Tokyo for the remainder of my stay here, about another 9 days. I'm really excited. Tokyo's changed so much. There's so many new buildings, neighborhoods, establishments that popped up right at the start of 2020 because of the Tokyo Olympics, that a lot of people from outside of Japan, this is like their first time experiencing it. And for me, it was overwhelming. Shibuya has always been overwhelming, obviously Shibuya Crossing and all of the streets and shops and restaurants and karaoke bars and hotels and everything, but this is like next level. I want to make this video because the leisurely portion of my trip here in Japan is over. I'm going to be working from the hotel for the rest of the week. Hopefully I'll have some time to do some fun things, but I'm no longer in vacation mode. I'm in work mode, and I thought it would be a good time to look back at some of the things that I've acquired on my trip since the last time I made a video when I was back out in Kyoto. So, got everything on the bed here beside me. We're gonna start with tops, then do bottoms, and then finally end off with outerwear. So let's get right into it, you guys. By the way, some of these things, this is like a very raw pickups video because in an ideal world, I would have had like a lot of time trying these things on and like testing them out in the real world and seeing if I like them or not. This is a little bit more raw because while I have worn most of these things at least once, some of them have just been like packed away and like they've never really been, some of the new things have never been like washed. So I don't know how, like if they're gonna shrink or if they're gonna remain the same quality throughout, whatever. So this is like very early impressions and discussion of the things that I've picked up. The reason why I bring that up is because I bought a pack of Visvim jumbo t-shirts. This is the 3-pack that they make and the white colorway. I'm wearing one right now and there's 2 more in here. The best t-shirt is like a subject of heated discussion and everyone has their own thoughts, and I've gone on record talking about vintage tees and Uniqlo tees, and finding the right perfect basic t-shirt is a very can be very time consuming, and if you're nitpicky and detail oriented, it can consume you. For something as minute as a t-shirt, imagine. I was at the Visvim store. I just wanted to see what the hype was all about. I know a lot of people that swear by these tees, and the price in America, there's gonna be a running theme here, by the way. Everything that I bought here is either vintage or Japanese designer, meaning it's cheap because you can get really good and cheap Japanese vintage, or it's domestic designer and it's priced in yen. So because the yen is so weak right now, it's like it behooves it behooves me as an American consumer to just buy it, assuming it's not outside of like some price range or whatever. Like, even my motto this trip has been, even if I'm like 50-50 about it, unless it's something crazy that I'm gonna super regret, just buy it, because the fear of missing out, or as I'm calling it, FOMO copping. FOMO copping is a thing. The fear of missing out and not buying it while it's at this low price, because chances are I'll be able to get my money back if it sucks, or I'll maybe be more inclined to style a different way, who knows. But all that to say, these Visvim 3-pack shirts are so stupidly expensive in America, and I wouldn't dare touch one because of that price point, because at that American price point, they're like, it just doesn't make sense unless you're extremely rich. But because the yen is so cheap and because I had some spare cash in my pocket, I picked up a 3-pack, and I really like the material on these things. It's like a slubby white cotton, and the black one is also slubby, but it's black obviously. But I really like the irregularity and the hand feel. Like with all Visvim things, you just need to see it in person and hold it to really appreciate it. I have no idea. I'm hoping that they shrink because I actually sized up to a 5, and as you can see, it's like pretty big. It's tucked in, but it's long, so I'm hoping that it shrinks so that it doesn't look like a super extendo tee. Otherwise, I'm probably gonna have to crop them, which I don't want to have to do because that just makes me really sad. But I like the feeling of these so much that I'm probably gonna end up buying another 3-pack in the black colorway before I leave, but probably in a size 4, maybe even a size 3, because I tend to like my black shirts to fit a little bit slimmer. Room service. I tend to like my white shirts to fit more oversized and my black shirts to fit a little bit slimmer just because of when in the year I wear them. So yeah, Visvim 3-pack jumbo tee. Next item on the list, another Visvim pickup. Should come as no surprise. This is the black lumber shirt in tweed from fall winter 2022. Last year I made a video talking about the brown tweed lumber shirt that came out in fall winter 2021. This year they formulated a new tweed, which is slightly different from the previous version. There's more noticeable differences in the brown colorway because you can see more of like greens and blues rather than dark browns and whites in the various yarns. It's like you really have to just like zoom in on a picture and look at the yarn. I always liked how handsome the black tweed looks. It's a lot sleeker, more subtle, and you can see in the light like there's a lot of subtle variations in the yarn. It's not just a black overshirt. And I had an extra day in Osaka and I knew a store potentially had one in my size, and they did. So I went in, tried it on, immediately liked it because I know how it fits. This is my 3rd lumber shirt, but 2nd tweed one and 1st black one. And I just immediately knew what I wanted and I got it. Wool, linen, silk blend, but I believe either the linen or the silk is higher composition this year, so it feels a little bit lighter and it feels less itchy, personally. And the lining is tonal black. It's very handsome, very sleek. On the brown one, what I really liked about it was the like the salmon-y pink sort of lining. I thought that was really handsome and well done. Yeah, Visvim lumber tweed shirt. So that actually wraps up the tops. It's time to talk about the pants because I bought a fair number of pants. I've said this in previous videos. For me, buying pants is really hard because I think something is cool and I think it'll fit me well and you know, I'll style it easily, blah, 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 I'll feel comfortable in it. And then I'm just very fickle. I change my mind all the time. And in reality, I only wear like 2 pairs of pants back home, maybe 3. And even then it changes. Like I'll go for a certain 1 or 2 pairs for like a couple months at a time. And then I'll be like, I hate these. I'm never gonna wear these again. And then I try to find something else in my closet, or I try to find something else entirely. So it's this vicious cycle. And again, going back to that logic of FOMO copping and making the most out of the yen where it is right now and being able to have access to Japanese designers that I liked. I bought 4 pants while I was out here, and I know for a fact some of them are going to be long-term pieces that I'm going to keep and cherish and love, and some of them were a little bit more, let's try this out. So let's start off with the experimental pairs. This pair of pants is a pair of Visvim Camus braces pants from 2019, I believe. This is like one of those older Visvim staple pants. It's like a cotton linen chino-like pant, but it has suspenders and a back cinch, but this back cinch doesn't do anything. The thing about these pants is that they're intended to be worn with the suspenders. The waist is freakishly huge. This is a size 2, and I think the waist is like a 35. And it's intended to be that way. It's intended to just kind of like encircle your waist without actually being too tight, and then you use the suspenders to actually wear the pants. And I thought that's really cool because it gives you a really high-waisted silhouette. It's super high-rise, and I saw them at a secondhand shop for, I think, a good price. So I grabbed them. I probably will not be wearing these until the spring when it gets warmer, and I'll be just, my intended styling is just t-shirt tucked in, suspender pants, and then like Birks. And then because the length on these is not too long, it has one break with like a pair of boots, for example. It looks good with boots. I wore them one night with boots and it looked cool. But I think it would be, I'd feel more comfortable styling them if I actually cuffed them and really kind of played with the proportions and exaggerated the fact that it's super high rise. So Visvim camo pants, size 2, really comfortable, really nice texture. I would love just a pair of pants, like chino pants or whatever, with this wool linen blend, or cotton linen blend, sorry. Oh, it's actually just cotton. That's crazy. It feels like they're linen lined because of the way that the cotton feels in hand. It's kind of like I can't even describe it. Like, look at it. It's just like slightly irregular and washed, and it's so nice to, Visvim materials are just crazy. But yeah, so these are probably going in the back of the closet for a couple more months until it gets warmer again. But again, FOMO cop, had to do it. Next pair of pants is an absolute classic. These are Capital Century denim in the ridiculously priced Dorozome mud dye cotton linen version. So for everybody that was like myself a week ago that didn't know the difference between the different Capital Century denim pants, basically the Century denim is like a raw denim that has the sashiko stitching done all over it. There's different versions with different types of dyes. There's an indigo dye, there's a sumi ink dye, there's a kekishibu persimmon dye, and there is a mud dye. First 3 dyes that I just mentioned are all 100% raw denim, super stiff cotton, and that's because the dye just works well with cotton. But for the Dorozome, what the salespeople were telling me was to get this particular wash, they had to use a linen blend, so the color would be what they wanted. And so as a result, these are indeed, you know, stiff raw denim, but they're not as stiff as like 100% cotton denim because they have that linen factor in them, and they are slightly more breathable because of it. This is the last pair in stock in any of the stores that I went to. It's a size 34, and the general rule of thumb is that you size up from your true size. So I'm a 32, so 34 makes sense, but realistically, I could have gone with a 32 because I could fit a 32 in the other dye versions, but because they were so stiff and heavy, I was like sweating putting them on. It was so hot and uncomfortable. I probably would not wear them out of the house if I bought them. With this, it's a little bit more roomy, especially in the thigh, which I'm not used to, but they're really comfortable. So what I'm thinking about doing with these is taking them to my tailor or taking them to a denim specific shop and having them take in a little bit of the thigh just to make it a little bit more doable day to day, because they showed me at the Capital stores, they have examples of the various Century denim after years and years of wear, and it's like 1 year, 2, 3 years, 5 years, and like after 5 years they look insane. They look like 100-year-old artifacts. But even after like 1 year, they're super soft, super broken in. So that got me really hyped actually. I'm gonna try to wear these as much as possible, but in order for me to do that mentally, I'm gonna need to make sure they have the right fit that I feel comfortable wearing them in. So realistically, these are going to a tailor as soon as I get back home. So like I said, Shibuya is like being rebuilt with all these mega buildings, and the one westward of me, which is where this is a west-facing window, the west building right here is like almost finished, and the sun just ducked underneath the top of it, so it's no longer blinding, but it did get a little bit darker, so hopefully the lighting isn't too bad. Just wanted to put that disclaimer in there. All right, so now we have 2 more pairs of pants. These are the vintage pairs that I got that were ironically significantly cheaper than the previous 2 pairs of pants that I just showed you, and I like them more. Like, I think that they have more viability and longevity in my closet because of how simple but just like subtly perfect that they are. So we're gonna start with this pair right here. This is a pair of washed charcoal Levi's corduroys. These are 519s, I believe. I got these super randomly at a secondhand store in Harajuku for $40 maybe. And I was shocked because the waist fit, the waist is actually large. What was the sizing on here? So these are actually a 33-34. So it's, again, larger than my true waist size, but with vintage pants, I tend to go up a waist size because they've shrunk. But the inseam feels really, really long, like over a 34 or even a 35. And because they have a really high rise, you can kind of see it more in the back, but they have a really, really high rise. So they just feel really, really long, which I'm enjoying because they're also quite slim pants. So they're kind of a flattering silhouette. And I've been looking for a pair of corduroy pants for a couple months now. I've bought a couple pairs, and none of them that I've bought secondhand back home in America have the right oomph. You know, sometimes it's the fit that isn't right, wash, or the feeling. I got one pair that was like super stiff and starchy and just like uncomfortable to wear. These are faded very nicely. They fit great and they're super soft. So, and they were mega cheap. So if you are in Harajuku, you have to check out the Second Street there. They have like racks and racks and racks of vintage Levi's, and this was one of them. So love these. The real star of the show, for all the things that I've shown thus far, and maybe for the whole trip actually, is this pair of Levi's 501 XX that I bought on like my second or third night when I was back out in Kyoto. And I was just at a store roaming around and I saw these hanging on the wall, and I just looked at them and I liked the wash and I liked the distressing of them. And 9 times out of 10 when that happens in Japan, they just are not my size. They're too small or too short or whatever, or they're like, you know, from the 40s or something, and they're $3,000. Interestingly enough, this was my size, at least on the tag. It was my size. It was a very good price. It was like $70 maybe. And again, just like that wash, that fit, just spoke to me, and I immediately knew that if they fit me right, they were going to be a very special pair of pants because of the distressing detail and the fading on the knees. They have this like very sandy discoloration, as you can see, and even on the back, like look at that pocket fading. And when I bought them, they had holes here. They had the fraying fabric and stuff, but what I did was I repaired them with vintage kofu that I had bought just a couple days prior at the antique store, the antique flea market in Kyoto that I talked about in my last video. I cut off like little patches of kofu fabric, and I went to a fabric store and I bought the cheapest seam ripper that I could find, fabric glue of all things, because what I wanted to do, this was supposed to be more of like a proof of concept. I actually didn't expect this to look and feel as good as it turned out. I just kind of wanted something that I could wear for a day and see how I felt about the denim with the kofu being styled. Was it too loud? Did it look right? Did it feel right? And after a day, I was so happy. I got so many compliments on these from like random Japanese store owners. These pants have been like the coolest pickup for sure on this trip. And as soon as I get home, I'm gonna be reinforcing all of these holes and distressing with a sewing machine properly so they can actually, you know, stand the test of time and, you know, not be super janky. But yeah, 501, these are 501 XX. I believe the tag size is 32-38, something huge. But because they're so shrunk, they fit like a 32-33-4. Just really versatile, great faded pair of denim. And again, just made unique by the vintage kofu patches underneath. And super cheap. All right, we're moving on to the big bangers in the video. We've saved the outerwear for last. So this one, we'll just get right into it. This is a capital vest. This is the capital keel vest that is basically like this asymmetrical vest, slightly shorter in the front, slightly longer in the back, made out of, I always think about like seat belts being woven together, but it has a little bit of that like Bottega Veneta intricatio energy, but it's capital. And this is the gold colorway, and it is so handsome in person. It's like brownish, the warp and the weft. I don't know which one's which, and I think those are the right terms, but they're slightly different shades of beigeish gold. They're like a ripstop material, and the other one's more matte. So it's just so cool. There was only one of these in stock in all of the Capital stores, and I immediately copped it. I love this. I love vests. I've said this before, I think vests are like the most underrated piece in my closet, and I actually have high hopes about wearing this because vests you can just wear over a t-shirt. It's perfect for transitional weather, and the fact that it's reversible is so cool. There are hidden pockets on this side, which are really nice, and there's obviously snap pockets on the interior. There's like bandana versions, there's solid nylon ones, there's patterned nylon ones. It's a recurring fit throughout, you know, Capital seasons. I personally found that this one was just like the one that spoke the most to me. It was the loudest I felt like I could be without being like, look at me, I'm wearing cool Japanese clothes. Like, this is just kind of fun. The size 3, and it fits me absolutely perfectly. Keep in mind the fit is supposed to be like a little bit wonky and like hunchbacky. The back is bigger than the front significantly, and the front has a pretty healthy crop. So bear that in mind. The dimensions of this thing are just like really weird. It's a really funky shaped vest, but if you can get the right size, it is super duper cool. Woo. This video was sponsored by Jasmine Tea from, I think this is from 7-Eleven, or maybe it's Family Mart. Jasmine Tea, drink of champions, baby. I just hit myself in the eye. All right, the sun's going down. It's so beautiful outside the window. Look at this. Well, that's pretty ugly over there. That's beautiful. I wish that building wasn't there. But I digress. The piece de resistance of this entire trip, like with all big purchases, there's a bit of a backstory. I entered the drawing, the raffle, for Visvim's latest drop this past Saturday, which was for kind of the piece of the season. The piece of fall-winter 2022, or at least one of the biggest ones, was this Italian lambskin leather flight jacket called the Elmendorf, which is named after a military base in Alaska, which is where Hiroki Nakamura draws a lot of inspiration from. Admittedly, the Elmendorf and the A2 jacket in general have never been my favorite military silhouette. I think there's other cooler ones, but the leather tanning and distressing process are like out of this world beautiful. They're so unique. They have these incredible patinas, and they're so well made. On top of it, it's lambskin, which is like so soft, and it just feels so luxurious and wonderful. So, like with all the big releases, Visvim does a raffle. You have to come to the store a couple days early, put your contact information down, and then you get a ticket. That ticket gets put into a hat, and then the day before the release, they tell you which number you are in line for the release. Now, I got really lucky, and the gods were shining down on me, and despite being the last person to actually enter the raffle, I was the first person selected in line. So got to the store 10 minutes before it opened, lined up, and then one by one, you know, you kind of go to a sales associate and they bring you to a part of the store, and they're like, okay, so what do you want?
Yeah. On that bullshit. Okay. On that bullshit. Okay. On that bullshit. Okay. On that bullshit.
The size 1. It's okay, we can match.
We just gotta coordinate.
We even got a similar blue denim. 20s.
This is better.
Yeah. So maybe authentic style.
Yeah.
that bullshit. On
Jonathan
that bullshit.
copped
We on all the bullshit.
and meets
On
today.
that bullshit. On that bullshit.
Of course, about the same color as me, so we're matching.
On that bullshit.
Can't take us anywhere
On that
together.
bullshit.
It was really, really cool, and I have to give a big thank you to Takashi, the store manager over here in Tokyo. He was my spirit guide. Your boy copped the big leather. This is the Visium Fall Winter 2022 Elmendorf IT Italian lambskin, vegetable tanned, hand distressed. This thing goes crazy. This is one of those pieces that gets this like big tag that gets signed by Hiroki, and the interior is the salmon skin pinkish red that I love on the lumber tweed shirt that I had. This is the dark brown version. It came out in burgundy and it came out in black as well. I chose dark brown for two reasons. First, black looked a little bit too cool. I didn't look mature enough to wear it, if that made sense. Like, I felt like it was wearing me rather than I was wearing it. So that immediately disqualified it. Then it was down to dark brown and burgundy. This is where I got really lucky that I was first in line because I had obviously first dibs on whatever was available. I'm between a 3 and a 4, and I wasn't sure if I wanted, which one I wanted. And I had previously told them that I was more interested in the 3, probably. I'm first one in line, and I say, okay, let's try on the 3s. And they said, we only have a burgundy size 3. And I saw it, and I just didn't like how red it looked. It was a little bit too red, and that was the only size 3 that they had. So I said, all right, let's try on the size 4s. And so I tried on the black size 4 and the dark brown size 4, and like I said, the black just didn't feel right. Yeah, I just tried this on and I felt like I was like in a deep fried meme where like my eyes got really big and I was like, oh my God. Because it's just like, it's such a piece, man. This is like one of those things that I really hope I get a lot of wear out of. And I hope I have this for a long time, because this is one of those things that deserves a forever home. This is like a phenomenal piece of outerwear. You can see, even in the setting sun, the patina on the leather. It feels obviously very lived in, and it feels like it's an antique, but it's brand new. And there's so many variations in the texture of the leather, and it's all distressed by hand too, which is crazy. A little bit like Raf Prada bomber energy, though not as oversized. Maybe just Raf bomber energy. Intentionally oversized fitting, but because it's cut that way, it doesn't feel like it's the wrong size. It feels like it's supposed to be styled in this kind of way. And it's sick. I fucking love this thing. And it is my tokenized memento of my time here in Japan. And I couldn't be happier. Anywho, you guys, that wraps up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like, comment, tell a friend about it. Follow me on Instagram. Yeah. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
In and out my sessions, in and out her best friends, in and out these courtrooms, my lawyer like objection.